What's good, new types? This is Akira from Lockout Games, and today I am bringing you a match between blue-white blockers, which is going to be the red player on the right, and green-blue Zeon, which is going to be the blue player on the left. So starting off the match is going to be the red player. They go ahead and set one of their resources, and let's see if they have anything for turn one. They don't, so they pass it over to the blue player, and they're going to start their turn one. So they are at level 2 because they do have the EX resource. So let's see if they're able to get anything down for the early game or if they're going to have to pass as well. It looks like they went ahead and passed over to the red player. So they set down their second resource, and they're going to go ahead and use one for an overflowing affection. So that's going to draw them 2 cards and then let them discard 1. And from there, we'll see if they have any other 1-drop level 2. But it looks like they go ahead and send a Unicorn Destroy mode to their trash that they're, looks like I guess they're not going to need for the late game, or they may already have another one in hand. With a turn pass, it goes over to the blue player, who sets down their second resource, and now they're at level 3. So let's see if the deck is able to start getting started right now, and able to get some units on the field to start pushing the tempo. With 1 resource used, we see a Zaku 2. I really like this card. It's a great attacker, getting plus 2 AP for the turn when it declares an attack. So a pretty strong unit, especially in the early game, to get rid of EX bases. But with that, they go ahead and pass the turn over to the red player. So the red player is going to use 2 resources, and it looks like they want to start putting down units on the board. Going for a Aile right now, so not necessarily a blocker, but a great attacker with a 4-3 stat block. It is able to trade very well and also get rid of the EX base. So if that Zaku does attack, the swing back from the red player is going to also take that EX base. For the blue player, they have 3 resources down and that EX resource now, so they're at level 4. This is really where the deck should start popping off. They go ahead and declare an attack with the Zaku, getting plus 2 AP and taking out that EX base. And then quickly using 2 resources, they're going to play Zaku 2. This is going to be the one that when it's destroyed, you're going to be able to look at the top 3 cards of your deck and pull out a useful Zeon card that you need, or Neo Zeon. But right now it's being used to whittle down the red player's shield, so they're down to 5 right now and still have 0 bases. Let's see what they're able to do on their following turn. The red player could decide to attack into the Zaku with the Aile, which would take it out. It would trigger the when destroyed effect. However, it would remove an unblockable attacker off the field, which is pretty important, I think, in this matchup. Especially since they are playing a blue-white blocker deck. And we do see some of the best blockers in the game come down right now. We see a Zwart with a 3-2, and then a Lifrith with a 2-4. So the Zwart's really good on swinging back on anything that has already attacked with that 3 attack. It normally does trade, but it's normally advantageous. But we see the Aile swinging into the Zaku, since it's only going to take 1 damage, and be able to remove that off the board. And then if the Zaku does want to swing into it, it really does negate the fact that it has high maneuver. That does leave up 2 very capable blockers on the red player side. So we'll see on the following turn if the blue player has any more high maneuver Chars that are able to make these links and get past these blockers, or if they're going to have to swing into them. Placing their 4th resource, they're up to level 5 right now. And starting off their turn, they're going to go with a Gelgoog. I think this card is pretty good on offense, as it has a 4-3 stat block, and it only costs 2 to play on level 4, and they link it with a Dolzal Zabi, so it is going to be able to swing in this turn, and they start with the Zaku 2, so this is not going to be able to be blocked, so they have to take this to the shields, which brings them down to 4, and then the Gelgoog is going to be able to attack. So right now, I think the big decision point for the red player is to either block with the Zwart and trade with the Gelgoog, or not block, take the damage, and then possibly swing in on the Zaku. And they decide to actually block the Gelgoog, so that is going to remove that off the field. And right now, the red player has more bodies, which I think is going to put them at a slight advantage, especially going into their turn right now. For these more blocking style decks, I think this is pretty basic strategy for what they want to do, which is swing in with some of their high power attackers and then protecting them with blockers that either trade or just essentially nullify an attack by the opponent when they decide that they want to try and swing in. So the red player is going to play an Aile Strike Gundam and then pair it with Akira. So not only is it going to get its effect of bouncing something with 4 or less HP, but then it's going to go ahead and be able to swing in this turn if they want. So the blue player's EX base is probably going to get destroyed by the Rizel this turn, and we'll see if the red player wants to continue on with the attack, since they do have two other units that are able to swing in this turn, and that would essentially bring the blue player down to 4 shields and even up the game at that point. Swinging in with the Rizel, they do take out that base, and so that does leave a clear path open. The red player passes turn, however, and leaves up 2 blockers on their side. With a more offense-style deck like Zeon, this board state can be kind of hard to get past, so this is where I feel that the blue edition really helps with being able to manipulate your opponent's units and being able to rest them so that you're able to get in attacks. But the blue player plays a Fall Mail and gets that 3/1 Char Zaku token, and you do have to respect this because either you swing into it and whatever you're trying to attack with takes 3 damage, which is pretty substantial, or you don't, and it comes into attack and maybe trades up with something, and since they got the token for free, it pretty much is no loss to the Zeon player. So I do like the Fall Mail being played to just kind of get extra bodies on the board that have to be dealt with at some point. And the blue player plays a Char Zaku 2 with a Char, so that is going to make it have high maneuver, and it is going to be able to bring the shields down to 3. They use their EX resource, and they are going to play an Amuro. So this is what I was talking about. By adding blue to the green, you're able to now suspend down the Aile Strike Gundam, and they can decide now to swing into the shields or deal with a pretty hefty blocker and still have a token that's on the field that is now going to do 5 damage if they swing into it, and it's most likely going to trade in with something. So the blue player swings in with the Zaku 2, and it does have high maneuver, so it can't be blocked, and they are going to take out the Aile Strike Gundam and get the Wind Destroyed effect from the Char's Zaku 2. So they're going to be able to look at the top 3 of their deck again and then pull a unit. It seems like the blue player missed the trigger for the Char Zaku 2, so that would actually get them an extra card in their hand. I'm pretty sure when we played these matches it was very early in the morning after a tournament, so I apologize for the missed triggers. But let's continue on with the match and see what the red player does to respond. Looks like right now they're eyeing a base, and from the looks of it, it seems to be a Corsica base. So they're going to rest 3 of their resources and play that down. I really like this. It is a very good offensive base, and it fits well into decks that have kind of a strategy of building up a board state where you're not necessarily trying to swing in all the time, because it provides a really good attacker without having to essentially commit too much to a specific card on the board. So the Rizel is going to swing in and take out the Char Zaku 2. The Rizel was already damaged, so it makes a lot of sense to get the most use out of it that you can and essentially just wipe out the last unit on the blue player side of the board. With that, the red player still has a Lifter that they can attack with, but they don't necessarily need to right now, because on the following turn, Tall Geese is going to be able to do 4 damage to the shield and most likely be able to take that out in concert with whatever other unit that the red player is about to play. So not overextending is a pretty good plan for this, and just setting up once again a board state for the following turn. And they play a Gundam. So this one is very good in the fact that if it is paired, it is going to provide +1 attack to all the units on the field. With that bonus, your shield breaking units are just going to be that much more effective. So if you have a deck that relies on kind of going wide, I think OG Gundam is pretty useful and does have a pretty good stat block as well, because having Repair 2 just makes it really annoying to try and take off the field. For the blue player, they have 6 resources for this turn. They're going to rest 4 of them and play out a Char's Gelgoog. So a 4/3 that is able to use an effect where you can trash a Zeon card from your hand, and if it doesn't have a paired pilot to it, they can pair a level 3 or lower new type to it for free. But the really good part about this card is that you can use the pilot from the trash. So we see the blue player take out that Char Aznable from before, link it to the Char's Gelgoog, and now it's able to swing without being blocked for a whopping 6 AP, which is going to completely get rid of the base and leave that open now for more attacks, which right now they only have 3 shields. So we're in this kind of race right now where there are some blockers on the red player side of the field, or we know they can at least play blockers, but with the Char Aznable and the link, they are able to just get high maneuver and essentially swing past them. With the current units on the field right now, the red player would essentially have to swing out with everything to take out the base, as well as hit one shield, which will leave them down to 4, or if they're able to pair something with the OG Gundam, that would give enough AP to the Tall Geese to take out the base, but they're going to swing the Tall Geese into the Char's Gelgoog, so that is going to be a trade, and that's like I talked about before, is it was a token, so it didn't cost the red player anything extra to do that. And now it seems like they are looking to add another unit down to the field. I'm not able to see in their hand what they have right now, but it looks like they're going to go with a Aile Strike Gundam. So if they pair it with a pilot that's level 4 or higher, it is going to be able to bounce the Rick Dom off of the field and put the blue player back at 0 essentially. But they go wide and they play a Strike Rouge. So this is going to be able to restand one unit with blocker for one resource, and they swing in with both the OG Gundam and the Lifrith, and then using the Rouge's ability, they're going to restand the Lifrith so that it is able to block for another turn. So with that, they were able to wipe out the base. They weren't able to hit the shield because it did take 2 attacks to take out the base. However, they have 2 blockers and essentially 2 attackers for the following turn. For a blocker style deck, this kind of looks like what you want for almost an end board, or at least getting to it, where you have multiple big blockers and ways to activate them back after they swing, whether it be with Archangel for the base or Strike Rouge. The blue player is going to play down another Char's Gelgoog, so using that effect one more time, getting the Char from the trash and linking with it, so it is going to be able to swing in and take out a shield or go directly after another unit. They go for the shield, and they don't hit a base, but they do hit a Bondager Link, so that's going to go into the red player's hand, and they finish up by playing a Zaku 2 on the board, so representing a decent amount of attack swinging in, and they do have some shields still left over to defend themselves, so they're not out of this game just yet. The red player did a bit of thinking, and they're going to start off their turn by equipping or piloting the Aile Strike with a Bondager Lynx that they just got from hand, so that's going to bounce the Rick Dom back to the blue player's hand and reduce their field to essentially 2 units, but one of them is going to be able to be attacked. So we'll see if the red player wants to trade anything, and they go with the Aile Strike Gundam into the Char's Gelgoog. So Bondager Lynx being paired into that is very important because that +2 HP mattered in something like this where it's only going to take 5 damage and not get destroyed. So late game +2/2 pilots I think are going to be really important, especially as the game goes on, because that extra HP just really matters, especially on like your boss level units. They play another Corsica base, so because this is the second one, they are going to get to play 2 1/1 Leos. So now their board is very wide. They have 6 total units, which is the maximum, and the following turn they are representing lethal on the board. They swing in with a Lifrith, which is going to take out another shield, no burst effect from that, and then swinging with the OG Gundam, which is going to hit another card that doesn't have burst, and then finally Strike Rouge going in, hitting another Zaku 2, the 2/2 variant. And with this, they represent a lot of power on the board right now, and it is going to be very hard for the Zeon player to come back from this. And I'd say this is the end state that the red player really wants to hit with a blocker style deck, where you've gotten so much advantage over the course of the match that you're able to go wide, but with bodies that actually matter. And they replace one of the Leos with a Lifrith, so another 2/4 blocker that's just going to stop the Zeon player from swinging into the shields. Which, speaking of which, with that Corsica base being played, the red player did miss the trigger to take one of the shields, so they should be at 1 right now. And with 2 cards in hand, the blue player isn't in a great spot. It looks like they have possibly a Char in hand, and then we know that they have the Rick Dom that was bounced by the Aile Strike from before. So they play the Rick Dom out onto the field, and looks like they're either not able to play the other card in hand, or it might not be useful, so it could just be a unit that wouldn't be able to attack this turn. And you kind of hate to see it, because this is where it gets really tough for a more like rush style deck. But they swing in with the Zaku 2 that is going to just do 3 damage to the Lifrith. It is going to survive with 1. This card is really great when it comes to blocking. I think it is essentially one of the best blockers in the game. It doesn't have any restrictions on attacking either, so that 2-4 stat block just really matters. And now the red player is just going to swing in with a Leo, swing in with a Strike Rouge, and then finish off the game with Aile Strike Gundam. So this was a really good match demonstrating kind of the incremental advantages that you can get with a blocker style deck, and in the end the red player is going to take it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I had a lot of fun making it, and I look forward to bringing you more and more Gundam card game content. If you would like to see more of that, please like and subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications, as it really does help. And feel free to leave a comment at the bottom of what style decks you might want to be building yourself or want to see on the channel and see represented in some matchups, whether it be 1v1 or if you're interested in 2v2 and want to see how some of your favorite cards may be used in that type of format. With that being said, let's get to debrief, and I'll see you out there, new type.